Hi guys, I will tell you exactly why everyone is purchasing these things hand over fist. They are small, they are well made, they work fantastically, they make photography so much fun, and they are dirt cheap. This one right here is $29. We need to talk about it. I am absolutely in love with these mini flashes. I am buying every one that I can find because they're affordable, and I love trying them out and seeing which one fits me best. There's also a bigger one right here that we will talk about that has a few more features, and it's a little more expensive. It's still only $49 compared to $29 and $33 of the other guys, but crazy affordable and lots of fun. I like taking flashes around, especially for if I'm doing indoor photography or if I'm outside in the bright sun. Sometimes you want to fill in your shadows, or you want your subject to pop while you expose for the sky. You don't want to blow out your sky, but you don't want to leave your subject in shadows. Get yourself a flash. This one's actually from Godox. Some of these are from Godox and some are from Zeniko, but this is the TT350S, S for my Sony camera, and this is still a pretty compact little flash, but I don't really love taking this around in my camera bag for casual photography. Well, enter these mini flashes. I love taking these around in my camera bag for my photography. I won't take them off my cameras right now. Oh, and this video is not sponsored by these flashes. However, it is sponsored by the independent camera store Instro. They were kind enough to sponsor the video and send me a couple of the flashes that I didn't already own. So big thanks to Instro for helping me to explore these flashes and passing on the info to you fine folks. I really like having a flash with me at all times because your creative options go way up, and sometimes you just need some extra light, but I like it when I'm indoors and I can separate the subject from the background, darken the background a little bit, and make that subject pop, and I find that to be a much more interesting photo a lot of the time. And sometimes too, I want that retro look. You know, the old film cameras, they often had a flash that went with them, and you can get that same type of diner room look, you know, like the Polaroid that's on the walls of the diners. You can do that. You can overexpose your subject just a little bit, and I find it gives you that nice retro pop. A lot of street photographers also like to use a flash to spice up their photos, fill in some shadows, or have the subject pop out while keeping the background properly exposed. And because the flash also fires so quickly, you can freeze motion with these things even in dim environments. Now, these are all manual flashes, which I personally prefer. This one does have an auto mode. We'll talk about that in a second, and they will work with almost any camera that has a single pin connecting point. So pretty much 95% of the cameras out there. There are some exceptions, like the ZV1F has just a cold shoe, so no connectors there, and it won't work with the fancy A9 III with the way that that uses flash, but just make sure that your camera is not one of the few that is excluded before you purchase one. Now, what I mean by manual flashes is that you will set the power of the flash yourself. You will set your camera settings. Now, the camera will trigger the flash, but that is all it will do for you. I like it that way. I like to be able to control my flash settings. But these are not TTL flashes, which means through the lens, where the camera will actually check the exposure and fire the flash with the power based on what it thinks the proper exposure needs to be. And of course, you have no HSS high sync speed, so make sure you check your camera's maximum flash sync speed. For example, this A6700, the max flash sync speed is 1/160, and if you go any faster than that, say 1/200, you're going to start to see black lines in your photos, and that's because the flash fires very quickly, so the entire sensor has to be open. So the front curtain goes up, exposes the sensor, and the back curtain follows it. And if you are using too fast of a shutter speed, there is at no point a full sensor exposed on this A6700 or any camera, as long as you're going over your max flash sync shutter speed, and then you will get a picture of the actual black lines, which is the shutters themselves. And in case you're wondering, the ZV-E10 Mark II, which is electronic shutter only, you can still use the flash with that, but the max flash sync speed is lower than most of the mechanical shutter cameras. It is 1/40 for the ZV-E10 Mark II. So let's specifically talk about the flashes and which one might be right for you. I will start with arguably my favorite, and that is this little Zeniko ZF08 ZF04. Look at the size of this thing. I wish I had something to compare it to. Look at this. This is my Apple Watch. This is the face of the Apple Watch compared to this flash. It is so tiny. I gotta put my watch over there. It's so tiny, and it fits on something like my Fuji X100VI so beautifully, because this one's in silver. You can also get it in black, but oh my goodness, look at that. That makes my camera more attractive, in my opinion. And I have a little flash. Now, you are going to want to use this one with a lens that is small, like these pancake lenses for this X100VI. Perfect for this. You won't see any lens creep. You won't see any lens shadow in your flash photography. You will see lens shadow with longer lenses. I'll talk about that in a bit. So there is the adorable flash on the front. You charge it with USB-C, and you can get 372 shots on one charge, which I think is pretty good. And the recycle time is about 3 seconds. So 3 seconds in between full power blasts. And how you manipulate the power is just a couple of buttons on the back. You turn it on right there. The red says it's getting ready, and then when it's green, it means it is ready. The two little indicators mean it's at full power. You click that, half power, full power, and look at how well that's built. It's just nice and solid. I really like this thing. So stylish, built well, works well as long as you have a small lens. This is my favorite one to carry around, $29. Also comes with a little carrying bag and a USB-C cord for charging. Next up is the other flash from Zeniko. This is the ZF08. It's just the big brother to the ZF04. There is the little light. You can see it's a tiny bit bigger. Looks like a little Mac Mini, a tiny Mac Mini, but this one actually has 5 levels of power. So you turn on the power there, you see the 5 red lights light up telling you it is charging, and now it's ready to go. And you can change the power from 1 to 5, so you have many more options. And of course, it is a little more powerful than the ZF08. Now you can get 440 shots at full power with this guy, with about a 3-second recycle time as well. And because this one's a little bit bigger and the flash sits a little bit higher than the ZF04, you will get less lens shadow in your photos depending on your lens, of course. And at the end, I will just show them all compared to each other to see which ones are suitable for longer lenses. I wouldn't use this one for a longer lens either. I would like to keep my lens fairly short when using this Zeniko or the other Zeniko ZF04. And this one actually comes with a cool little carrying case. It's still only $33, so you get an upgrade in power and options for power, and you get a nice little case, and it's only $4 more. Now let me show you our first Godox flash here, the extremely popular IM20. It has 5 levels of power, just like the Zeniko ZF08. It's similar to the ZF08 in terms of pretty much everything. So you can get 440 shots out of this. It recycles a little faster, 2.5 seconds versus about 3 seconds, and they are really roughly about the same size. Oh, that one's upside down. They're about the same size, and there is the front right there. So, pick your treat over here with the Godox or the Zeniko. Godox have a great name in flashes. I've always used their flashes, so I can see why people would pick the Godox over the Zeniko. However, the Zeniko look at that style. Look at that. Oh, it looks so good. Again, you can get this in all black. I think you can get the Godox in white, if I'm not wrong. So check the links to see what colors you can get. Of course, it is also charged by USB-C. It does have a big Godox label, which I kind of wish it didn't. I like when Zeniko does it, and it's just nice and clean on the side. They have branding on the top, but it's not that noticeable. And in terms of lens shadow, you definitely want a smaller, more pancake lens, just like the ZF08. You're going to see the lens shadow with your longer lenses. Now, an antidote to that lens shadow will be this one, the IM22 by Godox. And as you can see, the flash sits much higher. You put that in your hot shoe there, and the flash is much higher, so you can have a much longer lens and not get any lens shadow. This one is probably overall the most useful for most people if you want to swap out the lenses. I really do like having the small flat ones though, for the profile, for the way they look, and just carrying them around, not sticking high off my camera. So I take these ones when I can, when I have a camera like this guy right here, or if I am using the right type of lens with my A6700. Just something, this one is a Viltrox Air series lens, and you're not going to get a lot of shadow at all with the ZF08 and the Godox IM20. With this lens, you are still going to get it with the ZF04, so definitely only pancake lenses for the ZF04. But the IM22 is just like the IM20, 440 shots on a single charge, and you have 5 levels of power. It's just a way to have a tiny lightweight flash that sits higher on your camera. And the last time I checked, the IM22 and the IM20 were about $32 USD. And lastly, we have the IA32, which is a more advanced flash with more features, still only $49. So that's pretty good. But look at this, the flash, you can actually move it from -7 degrees to 90 degrees. So if you wanted a fill flash, like bounce it off the ceiling, you can do it with that, or you can direct it at the subject itself. So that is pretty cool to have that on the side there. Can I get that in focus? Look at that. Oh, that's nice. This is the sensor here, so you can actually trigger this flash off camera, so you have more options if you want to hold the flash out and get some different looks. The power goes from 164 to 1/1, and it's actually in a third increments as you go up, so you have lots of different power options. Now this one does have an auto mode, so if you hold down the mode button, you can switch from manual to auto, and what that will do, I don't know if that is showing up in the camera, but you can type in your settings here. So you type in your f-stop, and then you type in your ISO, and then it will give you a range of, it will say, like this one says 0.7 meters to 3.9 meters. Then I will trigger this flash at the power that I think is appropriate if your camera is set to f2.8 and ISO 80, which I have here on the screen. And it actually does a pretty good job of doing it that way. Your subject is fairly well exposed. So if you wanted to play with that, you could. And of course, it sits much higher than the other flashes, so no lens shadow at all. The power supplied is different, as you can use 2 AA batteries for this guy. So there are a lot of people who like to be able to swap the batteries out instead of having to wait to charge it, or the idea of the lithium batteries dying over time. This one will last you longer. All of these flashes are surprisingly bright, even the least powerful, the ZF08. This is the exposure that I had set before the flash. That is what my mannequin looks like. And then you turn on the flash and boom, that is a lot of power out of this little guy. So I will put up a screenshot now of all of the flashes at their max power so you can see them. And of course the IA32 is by far the most powerful, but even this little one right here, it is so useful in so many situations. Love these little guys. Now let me show you that lens shadow. Even if you have a lens that's not that big, like this is the Sigma 18 to 50, and it is a really compact zoom lens, but you are going to get lens shadow in the photos with some of these flashes if you're using this lens. Now the ZF04, you're going to get lens shadow all the way until you zoom to 50 millimeters on this. So right up to 50 millimeters, you're still going to see a shadow of the lens. It's a little less dramatic with the ZF08 and the Godox IM20, but you're still going to see a shadow for sure at focal lengths that are, say, less than 35 millimeters. So if you're going to use a lens like this, go with either the IA32 or this cute little Godox IM22, because it just sits up there, no lens shadow at all, no matter what focal length I use on this 18 to 50. Now, if you use a lens like this Viltrox Air, these Viltrox Air lenses are quite small, as you can see. Now, you're not going to get a lot of lens shadow with any of these flashes except the ZF04. So I still wouldn't use the Viltrox Air with the ZF04. Look for more of a pancake type lens if you have a little film camera, or you have a little mirrorless camera that has a shallow lens, then you are good to go. So let me know down below which of these flashes float your boat and what you like to use your flashes for when it comes to your creative photography. I can't decide which one I like the most. I would say if I had to take them all away, I would probably get the Zeniko ZF08, although the IM22 is the most useful. I would definitely get a little one over the bigger ones because I just love that form factor. But man, they're all so great. When I'm taking out my Fuji, I'm going to probably take this little ZF04, ZF08. I'm using them all, and you can't stop me. I'm going to buy some more. I'll look for all of the brands that are selling these things, and then maybe I'll do more of this on the channel if anyone watches these types of video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Write some stuff down below. We'll have a nice discussion about it. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.